Ever been to the beach at night and wondered how the ships navigate? What if there are ships or icebergs nearby? Which would bring us to the thought of the legendary Titanic. Even though this happened to be a tragedy, there are many rumors about how the ship sank. While most of them believe it was because of the iceberg, some theories believe that a German U-boat was responsible, while others believe that explosion of coal inside the ship was the cause of the flooding. As you know, Titanic was the largest ocean liner built at that time with a gross weight of 45,000 tons, and a height of 92 feet. It was capable of carrying over 2,200 passengers equipped with a wireless radio. Rumored as an unsinkable ship, the ship started its voyage on April 10, 1912, with a moderate weather around 50 to 60 Fahrenheit. While the ship continued to sail, the passengers were enjoying the amenities offered. On April 14, little did they know that this would be the last journey of RMS Titanic. As the sun went down, the ship was continuing its journey on an icy cold water, just below the freezing point. Traveling at the speed of 23.6 miles per hour. At 11:40 p.m. the iceberg slices the right side of the hull, flooding the ship. The ship sank after 2 hours 40 minutes from the time of the collision and 1,500 people perished this day. If you are wondering how cold the water was, you have the answer. According to the second officer of Titanic, Charles Lightoller mentions that, falling into the water was as bad as the 1,000 knives stabbing into one's body. Now that you know what Titanic is and what happened to it, let me tell you a few facts that is related to the ship. Number 1. Survivor Charles. A 33-year-old Englishman, Charles Joggin, was assigned a chief baker post. However, he was hammered by the consumption of whiskey. When the ship got impacted by a huge iceberg, without any hesitation Charles took an initiative, by ordering his fellow bakers to supply food and loading up the passengers to lifeboats. Also giving up one of his seats to the passengers. Charles also recalled that, he had to force women and children onto the lifeboats. Here's the fact. When the ship departed from the port, she carried a staggering 1,500 bottles of wine, 15,000 bottles of champagne, 20,000 bottles of beer, and the list doesn't stop here. You now know how Charles had an access to the drinks. Well, that was not all. His heroic act did not stop there. He started throwing chairs to the sea with the hopes that they could be used as floats. Now, the ship started to submerge and the panicked passengers started to scream. While the chief baker stepped off the stern of the sinking liner and calmly paddled till sunrise. Charles was then rescued and was reported back to the duty in a few days. 2. Captain Smith did not pass his navigation exams. Captain Smith was considered responsible for the iceberg incident. He was also named the Great Captain, with some even naming him the Millionaire's Captain. Some passengers who were way too wealthy were devoted to Smith, that they would only sail on ships that he was in charge of. However, what these passengers possibly did no longer recognize that Smith did not clear his navigational tests the initial time he took them. However, Smith did pass them the second attempt he took them, and we all know that tests are not always the best way to measure a skill. Smith then became a highly paid and well-respected captain. He also became a majestic *S captain for 9 years starting off in 1895. When the Boer War began in 1899, Majestic was ordered to move troops to Cape Colony. Smith made journeys to South Africa successfully, and in 1903, for his service, and King Edward VII offered him the Transport Medal. Smith became appeared as a safe captain. 3. Expensive. It was estimated that the Titanic's construction cost was £1.5 million, which is around £170 million in today's money. It took 3 years to build this gigantic vessel. The wages of those on board varied greatly depending on the position. Captain Smith earned £105 per month, which is about £11,000 today. Now, even though the Titanic was a luxurious ship, the tickets weren't affordable. In 1912, a third-class ticket costed around £7, which is equivalent to £800 in today's money. A second-class ticket cost around £13 or nearly £1,500 today, and a first-class ticket would have set you back a minimum of £30 or more than £3,300 of today's price. Number 4. The man with psychic powers. There was a man named Morgan Robertson, who claimed to have invented the periscope. Believe it or not, he wrote a short novel in 1898 called Futility. which mysteriously predicted the sinking of the Titanic 14 years ago. His novel Futility, also called as The Wreck of the Titan, focuses on a naval officer and sailor named John Rowland, who survives the sinking of Titan. Yes, you are right. Titan refers to a ship which is scientifically very advanced, and is sailed by one of the best captains of the Royal Navy who has passed rigorous tests on wind, tides, currents and geography of the sea. The author represented the crew as highly skilled and knowledgeable. This included the personnel in the engine room as well as the steward's department. Eventually, as the voyage continues, the ship gets collided with an iceberg. Number 5. Newspaper. RMS Titanic was known as being one of the best luxury ships. The ship had the famous grand staircase, Turkish bath, and many other features that made it the most exceptional ship on the water at the time. Did you know that the ship had its own newspaper? The Atlantic Daily Bulletin was distributed daily to passengers, and it contained an interesting information on stock prices, company gossip, horse racing results, and menus of the day. And if you liked this video, please like, share and subscribe.